Hello everyone, welcome to Topper IAS. So as part of our daily series, today also we will be looking few of the current affairs news taken from Hindu as well as taken from PIB. Okay, so let's get started. So the first one is with respect to poultry industry. See, what has happened is government has allowed for the import of GM soybean meal. Okay, GM stands for genetically modified soybean meal. Okay, so what is the issue surrounding this news is, see, basically what has happened over recent period is the price of genetically modified soybean meal has increased. Okay, see, what is this soybean meal is, see, you extract oil from the soybean. Okay, you extract oil from the soybean, and once the oil is extracted, whatever the leftover part is there, that is used as a feedstock in poultry industry. Okay, and it is a main protein ingredient. Okay, and what has happened is, over the years, price of this soybean meal has increased in India. Like you can see, from 34 to 36 rupees per kg to almost 96 rupees kg, right? So why? Obviously there is a more greater demand for soybean meal now, right? But people involved in poultry industry find it difficult to pay for such a high cost. So that is why what they were demanding is, they were asking a government to allow for the import of genetically modified soybean meal. Once you get the supply due to imports, obviously greater availability of supply will reduce the price of this soybean meal. So this was the demand of people involved in poultry industry. But what has happened now? See, for poultry industry it is fine, but you see genetically modified crops. So there are protests in India already that you never know the exact negative consequences that the genetic modified crops have, and already there is a issue with GM crops, and now you are again allowing genetically modified soybean meal into the country. So this might enter the food chain. Obviously, we depend on animals for a number of foodstuffs, right? So that might enter the food chain and cause a number of negative consequences. So this is what the environmentalist activists have raised the concerns over such a import of genetically modified plant. Okay, so remember this, soybean meal important food ingredient in poultry industry. So prices have gone up, so they have demanded to allow for imports. But government, on the basis of request, government has allowed import. But thing is, there are concerns with genetically modified crops. So this is what the issue is, remember that. So there are coalition for GM free India. What the government reasoning was that the soybean meal and oil cake from GM soybean would be permitted for import, saying that the de-oiled and crushed cake did not contain any living organisms. Okay, see, genetically modified organisms, we call it a genetically modified living organisms. Okay, so something which is de-cake, de-oiled, crushed, does not contain any living modified organisms. But what the coalition for a GM free India, which is against introduction of GM modified crops, says that the 1989 rules of the Environment Protection Act applied not just to GM organisms but also products and substances thereof. See, we have Environment Protection Act. Under that, there are 1989 rules which governs related to genetically modified crops, and it says that not just genetically modified organisms, the products which you get out of these modified organisms are also under the regulation of particular rules. So this is what their argument is. So remember this stuff. So basic things from exams point of view, you should know what are GM crops. Name itself is self-explanatory. Genetically modified. So what is genetic material is DNA, and this material has been modified. Why do we modify it? To get desired outcomes, desired yield. So, and also to make them insect resistance, pest resistance, and all this stuff. Okay, that is why we are modifying them. So we have BT cotton, right? So it is a genetically modified crop, remember that. And in India, genetically modified organisms and products are regulated under rules for manufacture, use, import, export, and storage of hazardous microorganisms, Genetically engineered organisms or cells 1989. I said. So, and these rules are notified under Environment Protection Act of 1986. Remember the stuff. Then we have a vehicle scrappage policy, and this policy is said to be promoting circular economy. See, Prime Minister of India has unveiled a national automobile scrappage policy and said that it is going to promote circular economy in the nation. So what does the policy or the exact way of working is, like, the policy aims at recycling old and unfit vehicles. So under this policy, what people will do is they will sell their old vehicles for turning them into scrap, and moment people give them into scrap, they'll be getting a certificate. So, and that certificate, people, if they have it, they will not be charged any registration fee on the purchase of new vehicle. So if you are giving it for scrappage, you will be benefited. So that is what the thing is. And the policy said that this policy would attract investment up to 10,000 crore. So not only that, so that will lead to employment creation in the nation. Okay, this is what the thing is. And see, what is the intent of doing scrappage and all this stuff is, see, the makers, automobile makers, they are able to retrieve almost 80 to 80% of vehicle weight due to recycling from the scrap. See, like glass, rubber, fiber, plastic, all these stuffs will be retrieved by recycling. Okay, that is the benefit. So that is why they are going to promote this scrappage policy. And you should know what is circular economy. See, globally, we have certain issues the entire world is facing, like climate change, biodiversity loss, waste and pollution. So these are certain basic global challenges now. But you see, what is the one of the main reason for all these global challenges is excessive exploitation of natural resources, right? Excessive exploitation. So if you, what can you do is, rather than continuous exploitation, what you can do is you can recycle recycle the available resources, right? So that is what the thing is with respect to circular economy. In linear economy, what you do is you use a product, you utilize it and throw it away. So take, make and waste. Okay, so this is the meaning of linear economy, that takes the natural resources, turns into a product which is ultimately destined to become waste, and you are throwing it away. So principle in linear economy is you take it, make use of it, then throw it as a waste. But what happens in circular economy is, circular economy employs reuse, sharing, refurbishment, remanufacturing, recycling to create a closed loop system. So what it does is you will be minimizing the resources usage, right? So you already recycle and you get the raw materials now, so you will be using the same raw materials for the manufacturing again. So you don't have to go for exploiting more resources again. Okay, so this will in turn lead to minimization of waste, pollution and carbon emissions, because already product is recycled. Okay, so circular economy aims to keep products, materials, equipments and infrastructure in use for longer, thus improving the productivity of these resources, because recycled and they are used again, so productivity of resources also increases. So remember this. Then next one we have with respect to earthquakes. So earthquakes in a Caribbean nation, Haiti. Okay. See, the almost more than 724 people were being killed because of earthquake. So the magnitude of earthquake was very high, almost 7.2 magnitude. Okay. So this it was struck about 160 kilometers to the west of densely populated capital Port-au-Prince. Okay, so capital of Haiti it is. So earthquakes, you should know basically earthquake prone areas of the world, and you should know basic before that what are exactly earthquakes are. See, earthquakes are nothing but shaking of the earth. So why the question comes, why the earth shakes? Earth shakes because of due to release of energy. So now the question comes, why there is release of energy? See, there is a release of energy because underground, a rock suddenly breaks. So it breaks along a fault. See, fault is a crack surface, weak area. So what happens is, underground the rock breaks and there will be a release of energy. This energy will be transferring, moving in the form of waves. We refer it as seismic waves. So moment this kind of stuff happens in the interior of the earth, that is what we refer it as earthquake. Okay, and there's a spot where earth rock breaks is called focus or hypocenter, and above spot, in the sense interior of the earth there is a breakage on the surface of the earth, we refer that area as epicenter. Okay, and as I said in the beginning, 7.2 magnitude. So there are different ways of measuring earthquake. So if you measure the intensity, it is done through Mercalli scale, and if you measure the magnitude about of earthquake waves, then it is done through Richter scale. Two scales are, remember. Okay, there are there. Then next one is with respect to Hong Kong democracy groups disbanding. See, recently over recent years, you might have already heard that there were protests in Hong Kong. So there were pro democracy protests which are going on in Hong Kong since 2018-19. Okay, and now what is happening is the groups which are protesting for greater democracy are being disbanded. So they are leaving the groups. Okay, they are disbanding the groups. So what is the main reason that have been cited is drastic change in the political environment, meaning they are not able to protest also. So what actually happened is there is an introduction of national security law. Okay, so what this law does is it provides a legal framework will be set up it to prevent and punish subversion, terrorism, separatism, succession, and any foreign interference. So these law makes any of these acts as a crime. Okay, so this is the thing. So that is why people are feared that they might be prosecuted or penalized under national security law. Okay, for having pro democracy protest. So that is why they are all disbanding their groups, remember. And what exactly the issue with Hong Kong and China is, see, originally Hong Kong was under British control, and British handed over it to China in 1997. So Hong Kong became special administrative region of China. So that is how they have separate basic law. So and what the system came to be called as one country two system principle. Okay, they are under the administrative control of China, remember that. And recently, as I said, there were huge protests, pro democracy protest and all this stuff. And there was also protest related to extradition bill also. So what this extradition bill is, it is a formal process of one state surrendering an individual to another state for prosecution or punishment for crimes committed in requesting country's jurisdiction. So remember, extradition issue was also there, and national security law. So these are all going on. You should know what is the relationship between Hong Kong and China also, one country two system principle and all those stuff. So that's it for today. You can also download the PDF of this document in the link that is shared below, and do download Topper Eyes Institute app so that you get access to n number of these videos which will be helpful in your preparation. Thank you.